There was a time when I believed that speaking English confidently belonged to people who had expensive courses, perfect teachers, and the best environment. I thought I needed a classroom to begin my journey. But one day, I realized that the biggest classroom in the world was already around me. Every book I could read, every video I could watch, every sentence I could practice was a lesson waiting to be learned. There was a time when I believed that speaking English confidently belonged only to people who had access to expensive courses, professional teachers, and perfect learning environments. I used to think that a classroom was the only place where real learning could happen. I looked at fluent speakers and imagined that they had something I did not have. They had better opportunities, better guidance, or a special talent that made the journey easier for them. But with time, I discovered that the greatest barrier between me and my goal was not the absence of a classroom. It was the belief that I needed someone else's permission to start. I was standing at the door of my dreams, waiting for someone to open it for me, without realizing that the key was already in my own hands. The day I understood this simple truth, my entire perspective changed. I made a promise to myself that I would stop waiting for the perfect moment. I would stop creating excuses about what I did not have and start appreciating what was already available to me. I had a voice that could practice, ears that could listen, a mind that could learn, and the determination to improve. That was enough to take the first step. The journey was not beautiful from the beginning. There were moments when I struggled to form simple sentences. There were days when I forgot words I had learned yesterday. There were times when I listened to fluent speakers and felt that reaching their level was impossible. The distance between where I stood and where I wanted to be seemed too great. However, I learned that every person who speaks confidently today was once a beginner who knew very little. Nobody enters this world speaking a language perfectly. Every expert once experienced confusion, uncertainty, and countless mistakes. The difference between those who succeed and those who give up is not intelligence or talent. It is the decision to continue even when progress feels invisible. So I became my own teacher. I started observing the world around me as if every moment had something valuable to teach me. A new word became a new opportunity. A sentence I heard became something I could practice. Every mistake became a lesson that showed me where I needed to grow. I stopped being ashamed of speaking imperfectly. I realized that a person who never makes mistakes is usually a person who never tries anything new. Growth is often uncomfortable because it asks us to become someone we have never been before. It asks us to face our fears, challenge our limitations, and continue walking even when the road feels lonely. There were many moments when I wanted to quit. I questioned my abilities and wondered whether I would ever become the confident speaker I imagined. The voice of doubt inside my mind was often louder than my own dreams. It reminded me of my weaknesses and tried to convince me that my goal was too far away. But I chose to listen to a different voice. The voice that reminded me why I started. The voice that told me that small steps taken every day are stronger than big plans that are never acted upon. I understood that transformation does not happen overnight. It happens quietly through the choices we make when nobody is watching. Every time I practiced a sentence, every time I learned a new expression, and every time I had the courage to speak despite my fear, I was building a new version of myself. It was not only my English that was improving, my confidence was growing as well. I was proving to myself that limitations are often created by the stories we repeat in our minds. I no longer saw the lack of classes as a disadvantage. I saw it as an opportunity to discover my own strength and discipline. The world became my classroom, My curiosity became my guide, and my willingness to keep trying became my greatest teacher. I understood that the most important lesson was not how to speak a language, but how to believe in my ability to learn something that once felt impossible. There were no grand announcements when my journey began. There was no perfect plan, no extraordinary circumstances, and no guarantee of success. There was only a simple decision made on an ordinary day to stop waiting and start becoming the person I always wished to be. Did not wait for a special day to begin learning English. I did not tell myself that I would start tomorrow, next month, or when I had enough money to join a class. I understood that the perfect moment is often an illusion, a story we tell ourselves to avoid taking the first step. The only moment that truly belongs to us is the one we have right now, and I decided to use it. I started turning my ordinary days into opportunities for learning. The walls of my room became my classroom. My daily activities became my exercises, and every small moment became a chance to grow. I did not need a teacher standing in front of me every day because I learned how to become aware of my own progress and take responsibility for my own journey. I began speaking to myself in English even when my sentences were simple and incomplete. At first, it felt strange. I would look around to make sure nobody was listening because I was afraid of sounding foolish. My own voice felt unfamiliar, and the words came out slowly with hesitation. But I realized that every fluent speaker has had a first sentence, a first mistake, and a first moment of uncertainty. So I continued. While making my morning tea, I described what I was doing in English. While walking, I spoke about my plans and dreams. When I looked at the world around me, I tried to explain what I saw using the words I knew. Sometimes I had only a few words to express an entire thought, but those few words became the foundation of something much greater. I started listening to English conversations, speeches, interviews, and stories. I did not only listen with the intention of understanding, I listened with the desire to transform. I paid attention to pronunciation, rhythm, emotions, and the way speakers connected their ideas. I repeated sentences again and again until they started feeling natural on my tongue. There were moments when I could not understand everything I heard. Some accents were difficult, some vocabulary was unfamiliar, and some expressions seemed impossible to remember. In the beginning, these difficulties disappointed me. I wanted instant results. I wanted to wake up one day and discover that I could speak perfectly. But learning taught me patience. I learned that a language is not conquered in a single day. It is built one word at a time, one conversation at a time, and one courageous attempt at a time. The small efforts that appear insignificant today become the powerful skills that change our tomorrow. Every day, I gave myself small challenges. I learned new words and tried to use them in my own sentences. I practiced speaking in front of a mirror and observed my expressions. I recorded my voice and listened carefully, not to criticize myself, but to understand where I could improve. I became both the student and the guide of my own journey. There were days when I felt my progress was too slow. I compared myself with people who had been practicing for years and wondered why my journey was taking so long. Then I reminded myself that a flower does not compete with another flower. It blooms when its own time comes. Every person has a different journey, a different pace, and a different story. The most powerful transformation happened when English stopped being a subject